Aditya, are you there? You may start the session now. We are live. Hello? Okay, Aditya, we are live now. Fine. I'll start the introduction until he comes, his internet connection restart. So, good evening, all of you, and all of you are welcome to the third session of Indian Governance Summit, an initiative by Students' Opinion Society to deep dive into the world of leadership, governance, and public policy. And Students' Opinion Society is the institute's first student-run policy think tank, and it's also the first of its kind, which is a club across technical institution in the nation. And in this session, we are very glad to have with us Ganesh Kumar Bhaskar sir, who has secured an All India rank 7 in UPSC Civil Services Examination 2019. And Bhaskar sir is also an alumnus of IIT Kanpur, who belongs to the class of 2015, or in more relatable terms, Y11 student. He graduated with a BTech in Computer Science and Engineering, and after that, he did his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. He also did a job for some time in Rubrik, which is a cloud data management company, before entering UPSC preparation. So, welcome, sir, and congratulations for outstanding result in UPSC 2019.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Happy to be here back to campus. Happy to connect with you all.
Yeah. So, Aditya, you may proceed from now.
Yeah, sir. So, would you like to take? Yeah, thanks, Muglesh. So, sir, we would like to hear what your journey has been in UPSC. Since you had a very decent career with Rubrik after graduating from IIT Kanpur and
one second. I think
so
I'm not
what your
getting
preparation
your
journey
view,
has
and
been.
could you start your question from the beginning?
Yeah, sure, sir. So, we wanted to know what your journey has been while you were in the UPSC preparation. You graduated from IIT Kanpur, then IIM, and had a very decent job at Rubrik also. Then what made you change your mind all of a sudden that you entered UPSC?
So while I was at IIT Kanpur, I had no plans of concrete plans of giving civil service exam. So I thought of doing an MBA, which is why I prepared for CAT, got into IIM Ahmedabad. So when I went there, so I did my internship, etc., and I realized that the corporate jobs were not what I was looking forward to. So it was in my second year of MBA that I decided I wanted to pursue civil services. So I sat for campus placements, got the job, but I started preparing side by side. So it was basically a job search after B school. Realized like the conventional options out of IIMs were not what I was looking forward, which is what led me to look at civil services as an option.
So when you entered your preparation, being a graduate from a technical institute, so did your technical background had some helping hand in your preparation?
Okay, so it did help me to the extent that I took mathematics as my optional. So like having a technical background does help you perform well in that option. So in a way it does, but also in a way the exam is more oriented towards humanities. For example, we have to write 4 general studies papers as well. So I would say it did help me a bit, but I also had to prepare additionally for humanities.
Yeah. So you had mathematics as your optional just now you mentioned. So what factors did you consider while choosing this optional? Maybe what factors one should also consider?
Personally, I basically had 2 or 3 criteria on the basis of which I chose my optional. Number one is the comfort level with that subject. So to do well in the exam, you have to be among the top 2 or 3% of people writing that optional. That means you have to be really good at that optional and you should be able to connect with it. So in my case, I felt I was very comfortable with mathematics and I felt I can get into the top 2-3% of people giving mathematics. So that's number one, the comfort level. So number two is like the scoring pattern, etc. So if you look at the past 4 or 5 years, you get a good idea of what are the type of scores that people are getting in different optionals. And if in a particular optional, if the scores are below 300, even for the topper, then it's very difficult to get into top 100 ranks with the topper. So scoring pattern is also something that one should look at. And finally, you should look at the type of test series, study material, guidance, etc. that are available. So for example, for maths, all of these things are available. But for, let's say, some subject like management, you don't have a test series, you don't have standard study material. So you'll have to prepare all of this on your own. So that makes the preparation a bit difficult. So these were the 3 factors that I looked into.
I think again Aditya's internet connection had some problem. So I'll go forward with the next question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was the how does your past academic record had a breaking with sorry how does your past academic record have a bearing with one's performance in CSE? So how was that?
So there is no specific advantage of having an extraordinary academics in UPSC directly. For example, if you want to get into IIMs, then your CGPA, class 10, class 12 marks are taken into account for entering the MBA college. But for civil service exam, it does not really matter directly. But indirectly, I would say that someone who has already done well in a competitive exam or someone who has done well in college has the capacity to sit down for like 7-8 hours a day and prepare well. So that is the only advantage that one has. Also, like someone who's reasonably aware and curious about the society, like someone who has been reading newspaper for 3 or 4 years, does have a head start over someone else. But having said all of this, everything that is required to clear this exam can be prepared from the beginning, but it might take a little bit more time and effort. That's it. There is no insurmountable advantage that someone with a great academics has over someone who does not have a good academic background, but he's extremely willing to put in the hard work.
Okay, so there is no advantage of it. Okay, fine. And we can see many UPSC participants. I know of Gaurav Agrawal, who had secured an All India rank 1, and I don't know the year of UPSC which he gave. He was also an alumnus of IIT Kanpur, and I think he had an CPI, very low CPI in his stay at IIT Kanpur. And afterwards, when he joined IIM Lucknow, he got a gold medal there. And afterwards, ultimately, he secured an All India rank 1. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question. Nowadays, we can see that there is a huge influx of study material from online sources. So now, has the utility of coaching in the preparation decreased? So what is your opinion on it?
So I think definitely the relevance of coaching to civil service exam has declined like compared to a decade earlier. So I personally did not take any classroom coaching. So mostly I sat at home and prepared using textbooks and some online test series. So that is all I did. So definitely coaching is not as relevant to civil service exam today as it was earlier.
Okay, so now what you will suggest to the UPSC aspirants who are giving now? We have a lot of audience in our college too who want to give UPSC 2022. And what advice you will give to them that you should take coaching or not?
Okay, so for a reasonably good student, I don't think coaching makes a lot of sense for general studies. You can prepare it on your own. So you can go through toppers docs on YouTube. There are blogs written by toppers. So that that is what I did. So I followed the blog of Mr. Anudeep Durishetty, who was ranked 1 in 2017. So that is sufficient for doing general studies. Apart from that, so I do believe getting some help with respect to answer writing skills, especially for an engineer, is good. So you should definitely join a good test series for general studies, and that would help you. So this is as far as general studies is concerned. Now about optionals, there are like multiple options: humanities optionals, engineering optional, etc. So I won't be able to like guide you on everything. But as far as mathematics is concerned, again, I don't think coaching is necessary. I did not take coaching. So do like I did buy study material of coaching center, gave online test series, but I don't think classroom coaching is needed for mathematics. So in my case, I didn't feel any negative impact of not going to a classroom coaching. But for other options, let's say someone wants to take English literature as an optional, maybe they might require coaching. I have no idea about it.
So you suggest that if any specific optional needs the requirement of coaching, then that the candidate can join the coaching, or else studying at home is fine.
Yeah, at home is fine. But having said that, like coaching centers do bring in an element of self-discipline, a sense of competitive zeal because others are sitting there. So if you can get all these elements on your own at home, then definitely like coaching adds no value to your general studies preparation.
Okay. Sir, as far as the book list for the paper is concerned, did you follow the normal recommended book list, or you made some additions or something from your personal knowledge?
So mostly it is the standard stuff that other toppers had recommended in previous years. So actually there is a video of mine on YouTube from Delhi Knowledge Track channel. So there I have like listed every single source that I used for my preparation. So in case those who are interested can just go to YouTube, check it out. It has a like 40-45 minute video that has all the sources that I used.
Yeah. Any unconventional strategy that you adopted for the preparation which might have helped you extraordinarily?
Okay, so unconventional, fine. I would suggest two things. So number one is like how to deal with time management between optional and general studies. So I had decided early on that maths is a very scoring optional. So I decided to spend 2/3 of my time doing mathematics and aim for a very high score in mathematics while I get like above average score in general studies. So marks are not yet out, but I do feel like getting a good score in mathematics would have helped me get a good rank. So this is number one strategy. It's not very unconventional. A lot of people taking science and engineering optionals do it. So I also followed this. Number two would be to like approach the exam from syllabus and question paper point of view rather than going from books. So one approach, like for board exams, we used to like get the NCERT, try to do it 100%, and then go to the exam and do it. So instead of that, one should actually look at the question paper and syllabus and figure out what sort of topics are asked and what sort of answers are needed, and then go through a book, skim through it, figure out what relevant sections are important, make short notes of it, and then only follow it. So basically, you start with the syllabus and question papers instead of books. So these are the two strategies. Both of them are not unconventional, but these help me prepare very well for the exam.
Since you talked about time management just now, so maybe if you could just brief us what your on an average day schedule was, maybe in the 3 phases: before prelims, between prelims and mains, and after mains, between interviews.
Okay. So for most part of the preparation, I was actually working as a product manager in a startup. So I quit my job about 2-3 months before prelims. So at that time, I used to get 4 hours on a weekday and like 10 to 12 hours on a weekend. Once I quit my job, I used to devote like 10 to 12 hours every day, both before prelims and like before mains. I tried to extend it to 14 hours, but it was not always possible. So on average, I would say 12 hours a day.
Yeah. Also, we hear that a constant motivation or support is needed during the rigorous journey of 1 year. So, what are your views on this?
So definitely having a supportive family helps. So since I was also working alongside, I did not have a lot of time to worry. So it was either work or studies. So having some distraction in the form of like job really helped me like beat the stress of this exam. That helped. And then again, during the initial phases, I did talk to a couple of seniors from IIT Kanpur who had joined IAS, like Mr. Abhinav Goyal, who's in IAS, Mr. Raju Mishra, who's also in the IAS. So talking to them gave me some sense of like how to clear this exam. So that also.
One interesting question from the audience side. You had cleared all the 3 prestigious examinations of India, that is the JEE Advanced, JEE Mains examination, then the CAT examination, and the UPSC CSE examination. How can you actually compare the preparation and the difficulty of these 3 examination and contrast them?
Okay. In terms of the amount of content that is to be covered, I think civil service exam is at the top, while CAT is at the bottom, and JEE is somewhere in the middle. And then, if you look at the role of intelligence or IQ in getting a rank, I would say JEE is at the top, UPSC is at the bottom, and CAT is in the middle. Yeah. So, anything else that you want me to compare?
I think that it was mainly everyone needs to everyone wants to make a comparison of these 3. How at which rank are these 3 covered? So yeah, you cleared cleared the answer in just one statement only.
Yeah. So one more thing that I would like to compare in terms of the amount of luck and subjectivity involved. I think UPSC has the highest amount of luck and uncertainty involved, while I would say JEE has the lowest amount of uncertainty. Well, CAT comes somewhere here.
Yeah. Some of the students here also wanted to know what your maths strategy has been regarding the coaching notes, and we have one student asking, are IMS notes reliable for mathematics optional?
Yeah. So I did use, like, my primary study material for maths optional was IMS study material. So I ordered their study material and I covered it entirely. After that, so in mathematics optional, if you look at the question paper, you realize that in some topics there are standard type of questions that are asked, and in some topics there are more deep and conceptual questions that are asked. So for easy topics, simply doing IMS material is sufficient. For example, numerical analysis, linear algebra, etc. Only doing IMS material is sufficient. But for other topics, you do realize that you need higher level of concepts and more problem solving. So for example, that could be real analysis or calculus, etc. So for them, in addition to IMS material, I also use textbooks. So again, I will do a Delhi knowledge track video soon once marks are out for how to study mathematics. So that's how I did it. So basically, in short, basic material is IMS class coaching notes, complete it fully. After that, figure out the topics in which you need additional practice or additional conceptual understanding by standard textbooks that are recommended by Nitish K in his blog or Atul Prakash in his blog. These 2 people have scored very well in maths. Follow their blogs, look at textbooks from those topics alone and practice them well. And finally, all this should be done before the preliminary exam. The time period between prelims and mains should be devoted to solving mocks. So you should do mocks extensively, and you should do 2 at a time. So in so similar to JEE, there are back-to-back papers. So you should do 2 mocks at a time instead of doing 1, because in maths there is a tendency to make a lot of silly mistakes in the second paper because of your tiredness. So do that extensively. So for example, I wrote around 26 mocks for mathematics between my prelims and mains. So something of that extent will help you really get the flow for mathematics. One more caveat, unlike JEE, where you are taught a bunch of concepts and you try to apply them in new and difficult circumstances in the exam paper. UPSC maths is sort of different, where 70% of questions are directly lifted out of textbooks. But the issue here is that there is a lot of syllabus. So make sure that you solve each and every question on paper very well, and very high chances that most of the questions in the exam are directly repeated from standard textbook or very similar to what are given in the standard textbooks. And again, time management during the paper, maintaining a formula sheet for revision before the exam also help.
Yeah. We have a quite substantial amount of third years attending the session. So maybe keeping a time frame of 2 years is what they are thinking as of now. So maybe if you could help them sketch a schedule considering the academic load that they have during the classes as well.
Yeah. So I think if you are in third year, I think you should be ready to give the exam right after your 4th year and clear it in your first attempt. So that should be your goal. It's definitely possible. But before embarking on this journey, figure out is this really what you want to do? Do you not want to get into core? Do you not want to get into business school like IIMs, etc.? And even within civil service, figure out what service do you want to do, and if you don't get that service, what will you do? Because the exam is very uncertain. In my case, after going to IIM, I decided that I wanted to do only foreign service. So in the list of 24 services, my first preference was foreign service, and I opted out of everything else. So my idea was that if I don't make it to foreign service, I'll go back to a private sector job. So you need to have a clarity, and this should not be based on like opinions of someone, like some relative, etc. Like talk to people who are already in the service, ask them what the career looks like look at your, see what your personality is. I felt that my personality is more suited to foreign service compared to IAS or IPS, which is why I opted for foreign service. So do this analysis, and once you have realized that this is what you want to do, only then start your preparation. So first job of preparation would be to look at optionals. Figure out an optional. For an IIT graduate, I would generally recommend that try to see if some science or engineering optional attracts you. The advantage being that these optionals can give you really high scores if you prepare well. And then again, the amount of risk factor and subjectivity is pretty low, unlike humanities optional, where you might feel that you have done extremely well, but the marks might not be commensurate with your effort. So try to figure out your optional, and first job should be to master the optional very well. Then look at standard books for general studies and try to have a conceptual understanding of general studies. Follow current affairs regularly. And try to, like, if you can finish your optional by third year, that's amazing. Like you are like very ahead of your competitors. And then in fourth year, go to general studies, prepare well, and then try to like give the attempt right after fourth year and get into the service as early as possible, so that you can reach the highest positions in the government.
Yeah.
Okay. We are trying to make this session as interactive as possible. So I request the audience to raise a hand if they have any question. So one Nirmal Kumar has raised a hand, and I'm providing him mic to ask the question he wants. Nirmal.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, Ganesh. Congratulations for your amazing feat at UPSC. So I'm just curious on how did you manage your preparation while you were working at Rubrik? I think it's really a competitive company, and I think you'd be having so much of work there. And how did you manage to give at least 4 hours per day, and on weekends you told you went until 12 hours? So can you just enlighten us on that?
Yeah. So 4 hours on a weekday is definitely possible. So I used to have night calls. So I told my firm that I'll take night calls from 10 to 12 at night while I'll work less in the morning. So I used to leave my office by 2:30 or 3 p.m. And then after that come home, prepare for like 4 hours, have dinner, etc. And then again I'll start working. In the morning, I used to leave early for my company so that I don't get stuck up in Bangalore traffic. So try to optimize your work environment, and then like give solid 4 hours daily to studies. I think that's definitely possible. And then again, like if you are working, your study efficiency is really high because you have very little time and you try to be efficient in the beginning. Like compared to like when I resigned my job and came home, my efficiency dropped like precipitously. Even though I prepared 12 hours, but I would say my efficiency in those 4 hours was very high comparatively. And then of course you have weekends, like you can like devote 10 to 12 hours a day. But having said that, if you feel like your job is like very stressful, etc., then you can actually quit your job and prepare full time. In my case, I quit the job because it involved like frequent travel. I had to travel to US pretty frequently. There is jet lag, like so it disturbs your study schedule, which is why I quit my job 3 months before. If my job did not involve any travel and it involved only office work, I would have continued in my job and I would have cleared the exam.
Okay.
So take the call depending on the job and depending on how efficient you are. Like for me, having a distraction helps me study better and like makes me more efficient, reduces the amount of stress in the exam. And then it depends on person to person.
Yeah, and one more question. So, given that UPSC examination is like full of uncertainty, as you said, so what was your main motivation to give in spite of the uncertainty, and what should the students keep in mind? I mean, because this uncertainty is a factor of demotivation. So even after so much of hard work, I mean, you can't expect the results. So how to go about this fact?
Okay. So like the number one reason is like how badly you want this job, right? So I felt that like Indian Foreign Service is something that I'll be happy doing. And if I'm going to stay in a career for the next 30 years, even if I waste a couple of years preparing for it, that's a pretty good trade-off. Like, what's the worst case scenario? I don't make it, then I go back to private sector, right? I mean, and it's also a job that I love, but it's just that foreign service is something that appeals to me more. So just the attraction of working in a career that you want for the next 30 years that made me take the risk. And number two, even though the exam is pretty risky, you can actually take some ways of reducing the amount of risk involved. So one way is taking a science optional, which practically means that when you come out of the exam hall, you know how much you have scored, right? So in the optional paper, you have reduced your risk to almost zero. That is one. And then the second strategy is to have like decent performance across all general studies papers. I never thought I would do exceptionally well in, let's say, international affairs or ethics. Right? My idea was to have above average scores in all general studies subjects, and which is not risky. If you do decently well, you will get above average scores in all subjects and an exceptional score in an option. So that way, even after doing all this, there is interview, there is prelims, etc. There is risk, but this is the risk management strategy that you can use. I mean, even JEE had risk, right? I mean, it's not as if there are people who did exceptionally well in AIEEE with a double-digit rank and ended up the 1000+ rank in JEE. That also happens. So you can reduce risk, but the risk is always there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you very much.
Cool.
There are multiple students. Yeah.
Sir, in one of your interview, which I saw, I think in Unacademy, there you said that you used to cover 1 week's current affair in hardly 2 hours in weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can you explain like how you used to manage? Because when I try to read, so even for a single day, I take at least 1 hour.
Okay. Okay. So this 2.5 hour thing comes with practice. So number one thing you have to do is, again, look at the syllabus and question paper. You realize that a lot of news that comes in is not relevant to UPSC. Like for example, some political leader calling some political leader something is not relevant to UPSC. UPSC does not ask questions on that. If you actually look at the news, maybe a couple of articles in the front page, editorial, op-ed section, international relations, and a couple of articles in economy. That is all that is useful from UPSC perspective in the Hindu. Right? So if you are just covering 3 pages or 4 pages in the whole newspaper, it should not take you a lot of time. And again, I did not make any notes out of newspaper. Newspaper was entirely to understand what is going on, to have an idea. All my notes were made from coaching center monthly current affairs compilation. Right? So this is how we do it. Like if you read the newspaper from head to bottom, it's not possible to do it efficiently. Just look at articles that are relevant to the syllabus that will be useful for you in the UPSC exam. And to do this, you have to be well versed with the syllabus and the previous year question papers.
So, sir, in the weekend, like you used to read all the editorials, or like you used to read some summaries of them.
So on weekend, I would like go through all the editorial, international relations, economy, and front page of 7 days of newspaper in one sitting, and then I did not make notes out of it. I would wait for the monthly current affairs compilation to come in. For prelims, I would highlight the PDF, and for mains, I would pick relevant articles in that magazine that are relevant to the exam, and then make short notes out of it on Google Docs, etc.
And so my second question is, so how you used to manage one single day time between GS and mathematics? Because I saw in one of video when topper said that like when he used to solve questions in mathematics, so after that it was tougher for him to like concentrate for GS. So like did you experience the same thing?
Yeah. So I experienced the same thing, which is also one of the reasons why I did all the newspapers together. When I took a maths topic, I would be on that math. Like let's say I took real analysis, I would do real analysis for 3 or 4 days continuously. Like all 10 hours a day will be on real analysis, and only when I completed the topic would I move on to general studies or anything else. So context switching actually takes away a lot of concentration from you. So if I did mathematics, I would do mathematics continuously for 2-3 days. If I did general studies, I would do general studies continuously for 2-3 days. That's what I did.
And so my last question is that for someone who's in college currently, so like, how should I start preparing for GS? Like, I mean, like, should I start for like studying 2 GS at a time, or like, on like say like if I want to start only from GS 3 in economy, or like should I start GS 1 and 2 at a time? Like, what would you prefer? Or like how you study?
Okay. So when you in the beginning phase, do not focus at the syllabus actually. So focus on doing the basic study material. For example, doing Lakshmikant for polity, doing Shankar Ganesh for economics, or doing Spectrum for modern India. So do that well, because these books are to be covered like fully for mains and prelims. So covering these books actually helps you understand current affairs better. So do these basic books first. then do current affairs, and then move on to mains topics, making notes, etc. So cover the fundamental books first.
Okay, so
Yeah, sure.
Fine. Let's go to the next question. I think there are no hands raised right now. So yeah, Aditya, you may go for the next question now.
Yeah. So we have multiple people asking a similar question that what was the reason behind your choice preference, keeping IFS first?
Okay. So this depends on two things, right? So one is the job content, and second one is my own personality, like what would be a good fit for me. So in terms of job content, like international relations has always like excited me. Even during IIT, like I used to read Hindu international relations pages, etc. So the subject matter is very interesting, and the nature of work is also very interesting. So foreign service involves like talking to other people, like convincing them to your point of view, which is exactly what is taught in IIMs, and which is what I did as a part of my product management job there. I would talk to engineering, I would talk to management, and I would talk to marketing and convince them to my point of view to deliver a product that I want. So the job content of foreign service is also very similar. You talk to foreign country and you convince them to your point of view. So both the subject matter, nature of job, and my own personality fit was very good with foreign service. For example, I am not someone who's like very brave or someone who can like shout at people, etc. So maybe I would not be a very good IPS officer because my personality is not suited for being a policeman. But instead, I think my personality is generally more suited for foreign service, which is also a reason. I have a better chances of being a successful officer in the foreign service compared to IPS. So these are the prime factors I looked into.
Yeah. We have one UPSC related question that does the past academic record of one's has any bearing with his performance in CSE?
Not in a direct way. So a person who's a 5-pointer and someone who's a 9.9 has equal chance of cracking the exam, provided they work hard for the exam. That's it. There is no direct advantage. But having said that, see, even in IIT, there are people who have very great JEE ranks, but they end up not working hard here and become 6-pointers, etc. Okay? And there are people who have, like, for example, I had 600 rank, I got mechanical engineering. It's an okay rank. But after coming to IIT, like I studied well, had a 10-point CGPA in first year, and then came to computer science, and I ended up being rank 3 in my department. So I did not do very well in my JEE, but came here, worked hard, and did well in IIT. There are some people who did like double-digit rank in JEE, came to IIT, and did not use the opportunity. It's very similar with UPSC as well. Having a good academic background shows that you have the ability to work hard, and if you work hard in UPSC, you will get a good rank. But it is also possible that someone did not work hard at IIT, then prepared like really well for UPSC, then that person will definitely do well in UPSC compared to a 9-pointer who has not studied well. That's it.
Yeah, we have one question in the chat box. What is the difference between the interviews you face while for a placement drive and UPSC interview?
Okay. Okay, so I did not sit for placements at IIT. So I was not looking for a coding job. I knew I wanted to get into a management job, so I did not prepare for any coding interview. I'll tell you the difference between what my IIM placements were and like what is the difference between that and between UPSC. So in IIMs, I think when they ask you like the way they check your motivation is very different. In IIM, in the management jobs, if they ask you like why do you want to get into this job, you basically tell them that I have these skill sets, I've done this, so I have these skill sets, and I'll be successful in this company, right? So I'll say like I've worked really hard, so I am hardworking, so I'll work hard in your company, so recruit me, something of that sort. While in UPSC, they look at your intentions more, like what motivates you. If someone asks me like why do you want to join foreign service, I'll tell them that so my motivation is actually to serve people. So I'm empathetic with poor people who are stuck abroad and I want to help them. So UPSC sort of checks your motivation compared to a management job that checks your skill sets. And then number two, you are required to be like aware of the going around in the society. when I interviewed for my McKinsey job at IIM, so I was not like asked, what do you think is the relationship between France and Germany, or something like, what do you think of this scheme in India? What should we do it to improve? But it was very specific to that narrow domain. But in UPSC, they ask you everything. Like, I had an MBA, so they asked me accounting questions, they asked me international relations questions, they asked me about like agriculture, they asked me about social schemes, etc. So the canvas of questions that they ask is wider in civil service exam.
Yeah. Some people want you to please elaborate on the answer writing, how to practice, and what is there any set procedure to follow for that?
Okay. So in IIT, at least in computer science, like we never had to write very long answers. Like it was either write the algorithm or write a one-word answer, and we wrote it. Really didn't care. As long as you understand the concept, the professor gives you full marks. That's how it worked in IIT. There is a question, there's a direct question, you give a direct answer and you get marks. So that is how we are trained, but civil service exam, general studies does not work in that way. So if they ask you a question, you're supposed to give them an introduction, which might involve some data, some reports, or a definition, right? So that is needed. And after that, you discuss pros and cons. If they ask you, do you think X policy is right? And let's say you feel the X policy is right, and you give just the pros of that policy, you will not get full marks. You have to first explain in the introduction why this policy was introduced. Then you give the pros, then you give cons as well, so that you give a holistic point of view on that question, and then you come to the conclusion saying that this started with a good intention, but these are the lacunae. Once we correct these, this is what the stage that we require. So you are expected to give a very holistic answer to a question, even if you are not asked specifically. So that is how answer writing differs between UPSC and IIT exams. And for this, you need to look at toppers' answer sheets, look at people who have done well. I personally followed the answer sheets of Mr. Anudip Durishetty, 2017 topper. I looked at his blog, look at his answer sheets, and then while writing the exam, try to practice it in as many mocks as possible and try to do well there.
So, Ganesh, what were the challenges you faced during your preparation? Did you feel like I should stop now, or did you have any depression-like thing? Because there is a vast amount of syllabus which you have to cover, and it is not actually easy for everyone to do it. So, what was your take on it?
Okay, so in my first attempt, I took prelims very easy. I did not prepare very well. I was preparing for mains, and I ended up failing in the exam. Like I missed the prelims cutoff by 2.5 marks, which means if I had attempted one more question right, I would have cleared the cutoff, right? And it was a pretty big setback. So I was pretty sad, but I decided that for the next 2-3 months, I'm not going to study anything. I just left everything, like went to US for my work, had trip there, went for movies with my friends, and I did nothing for the next 2-3 months. And after doing it, I got re-energized and got back to preparation. So taking some break will help you beat the stress. Having something else, like having a job, will help you beat the stress. And then again, during my second attempt, those who are preparing for this exam would know that prelims is the most unpredictable part of this exam, because you will have to do a lot of guesswork in the exam, and even if you are well prepared, it is quite possible that you won't clear the prelims because there is a lot of guesswork involved. And a couple of days before the exam, I scored really badly. In a week before the exam, I scored pretty badly in an exam, which is natural because it depends a lot on luck. And on that day, if you don't do well, you don't do well. And I was pretty sad about it. But then I realized that, see, this is going to happen anytime. It's better that I had a bad day before the exam rather than during the day of the exam. And I ended up doing well in the exam. So the main part is accepting that uncertainty and subjectivity is a part and parcel of the exam. I do understand that you'll feel it is a bit unfair and you'll start cribbing, but there is no point in it. Right while jumping into the exam, accept that there will be uncertainty, there will be a perceived unfairness in the exam. It's part of the process. You can't do anything about it. All you can do is prepare well, have a healthy mindset, and do the exam as well as possible. That's it.
Yeah. On a lighter note, would you want to share any incident about your stay at ITK? Anything you remember? You cherish?
Okay. So after third year, all of us in our group decided to go for a trip to Sikkim. So we went there. There was this lake that was frozen at that time. So it was not completely frozen. So a bunch of us started walking on the lake, and a few of the courageous of my wingmates decided that they want to have more adventure, and they started kicking the lake, saying that they'll actually break this, go into it, and swim in the ice cold water. And they started kicking it. They believed that it won't break, but it actually broke. 4 of them fell in, and then rest of us had to rescue them, and they remember it to this day that they never tried to boast about their own bravery. So that was a funny experience that we had at IIT. Yeah, and then again, I was from Hall 3. So for Galaxy, we were actually made to work a lot. So I was sort of someone who would try to get away from work, go to CC and study. But one of my wingmates was very enthusiastic about it. So one day we had an argument that, someone has to contribute to the hall. That is when seniors will recognize you. And it so happened that when a video was being taken about Hall 3 Galaxy preparations, I was somehow posed by a senior to do work. So I was in all sorts of things like putting those bamboo canes, etc. So I was the one who was covered extensively in that video, and my friend who was diligently doing the work was not covered in the video. So everyone sort of felt that I was the person contributing more to the Galaxy preparation compared to him, and it pissed him off pretty well. All of us in the wing made fun of him. So that is one more good memory of IDK.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So we have one question from Tavishi Mishra. It's that, is it okay to focus only in forest if you are targeting forest services after clearing pre?
You can do it, but again, the trick is forest service has a higher cutoff for prelims compared to civil service exam. That means the uncertainty for forest service, if you clear prelims, clearing mains is relatively easy compared to civil service exam. But clearing that prelims cutoff is sort of dicey for forest service. And anyway, for forest service, you have to prepare general studies, you have to prepare 2 options. So I am sort of risk averse, so I would prepare for both, and I would try to get a higher score in prelims. But having said that, it's your own choice. If you're confident that you can clear the high cutoff for prelims, while preparing exclusively for forest service, please do that. But you should attempt CSE, right? There is nothing new that you're going to prepare. You're already preparing optional for your forest service. You're already preparing general studies for your forest service. Do civil service as well. If you don't want to join it, that's fine.
Yeah. Considering the rigorous journey of CSE, after how many attempts should one give up because you just can't continue or anything, or because of any reason?
Yeah, so this is what I told myself. During my first attempt, I was working, so there is no point in giving up. For my second attempt, I quit my job and came here. So this is what I told myself. I'll give this attempt seriously. If I don't make it, I'll give one more attempt. And once I give the mains of that attempt, I'll try to get a job and move on. Right. So that was my plan. I will not give more than 2 serious attempts. That is what I told myself, and I'll go back to a job. And then again, this is something that's very personal. In my opinion, being in this preparation journey forever and ever is not possible for me. I get bored pretty easily. Once I studied a book, it's very difficult for me to go back to that book and do it very well. And even in your own intensity goes down with each attempt. So try to be done with the exam as early as possible. And even if you don't make it after a couple of attempts, I think get a job and prepare side by side, because in 2 attempts you would have covered the theory part extensively. All you have to do is do a bit better in answer writing. That can be done along with the job.
Yeah. We discussed about the strategy that third year should follow. In addition to that, what according to you is the apt time in your 4 years graduation to start with the preparation?
I think third year, second semester of third year would be the ideal time for starting preparation, or even thinking about starting preparation. Because by that time you would have done a couple of internships, you would have talked to a lot of people. You are at the right frame of mind to make up your mind if you want to do civil services, and then also you have a lot of time to prepare before giving your first. So second part of third year would be ideal. But having said that, I decided to prepare after my MBA, right? So you can do it late as well, but ideal part is.
Yeah, sure. Any interesting interview experience that you would like to share?
Yeah, so like I told you, foreign service was the only option that I filled in. So during my interview, I was grilled a lot on it. So first they asked me like, do you not want to serve within India? So you come from a backward district, so maybe why don't you want to become a collector and serve people here? And then there was a lot of grilling. No, so after so they would ask me a personal question on why IFS, and then they'll go to an international relations question, and then come back and say, give me an argument saying that, see, if you're an IAS, you could do this, you can't do this in IFS. Why don't you opt for IAS? And then like they try to grill all the way, and they try to give convincing arguments that IAS is probably better suited for you than IFS. There, I had to justify why IFS suits me and why I can do a similar contribution to people while serving abroad as well. So that is something very interesting. And then it was a long grilling. The interviewer laughed, I laughed as well. So
Yeah, sure. We have another question. Yeah, we are aware of the study material and other preparation strategies. So, what about the don'ts that one should keep in mind while preparing? What about the don'ts? What one should avoid doing? Don'ts.
Acha, okay, don'ts. Don't study a lot of books. Study the minimal amount of material that you have to. Don't study one page more than what is absolutely necessary for that subject. Right? Number two, don't leave anything in the syllabus. You never know where the easy questions will come from. It's okay if you don't do very well in hard questions, but you cannot afford to leave easy questions. So don't leave anything in the syllabus, both for general studies as well as for mains. Third don't is don't underestimate any part of the exam. It's not like you do JEE mains is easier, JEE advanced is tougher. That's not the way. All three stages of civil service exam are very different and require very different skills. So all three should be prepared with equal seriousness. These are three don'ts that I would give you.
Though we discussed this earlier, but I think Tanmay wants a bit more elaboration on how to strike a balance between optionals and GS, between prelims and mains.
So like you said, if you're taking a science or a technical optional, you will have to allocate like 60% of your time to optional. There is no other way. So in UPSC, doing a science optional requires that you're constantly in touch with problems. You have to keep solving it. You can never leave. So if you're taking a science or a technical optional, your primary focus will be on those optionals. And then of course, general studies, the trick is not to leave anything. The trick is to cover everything, but cover shorter material. Like your notes should be very short and you should have the entire notes on your fingertips. And you should focus more on structuring the answer. So for general studies, the tactics is cover everything, cover decent amount of points, but not huge material. Cover limited material, cover everything on your tips and practice answer writing. That is the way for general studies. For optionals, it's practice, practice, practice.
Yeah. Yeah, one Akshay wants to ask, did you get any question related to a mathematics optional in the interview?
I did not. But there are candidates who have been asked questions relevant to their optional. It entirely depends on the board.
One query again related to mathematics. Is every topic from mathematics syllabus is to be covered for CSE, or did you leave some of them?
I covered everything. So again, the logic is simple. You never know where the easy questions fall from. So for example, there is a topic called fluid mechanics, which is considered to be a tough topic. But if you look at the paper this in 2019, you'll realize that all the questions that are asked from fluid mechanics were the initial questions. Like, these were the easiest questions. So if someone had left the topic considering them to be difficult, they would have missed out on these topics. And the easier topics had a bit difficult questions that someone might not be able to solve. So I would say, in case there is a time crunch, don't leave the topic. Do easier parts in that topic so that you don't miss out on easy questions. But don't leave any topic completely. it's better to do easier parts of all topics rather than doing everything in a single topic.
Yeah, sure. So, sir, any closing remarks that you would like to give? Maybe a piece of advice to our future aspirants present here.
Yeah. So from my own experience, I'll say that figuring out what career suits you is much more time-consuming than what we at IITK used to be. Like in my time, it was very clear, right? You are in computer science, you get a job in Microsoft, Amazon, or get a US job, or you like do a master's or a PhD abroad. So there are a bunch of options, and mostly in IITK, we are not very conscious about our career choices. We just we don't research too much. We just go with the flow. So I did something very similar. Went to IIM Ahmedabad and realized that this is not what I wanted to do. Then took a job, and then there were a lot of turns that I had to take to finally realize that this is what I wanted to do. Like, if I had realized this in IITK itself, I would have saved a lot of time, a lot of effort, etc. etc. So I would recommend generally the students of IITK to spend a lot of time in understanding themselves, try to get internships in different sectors, and figure out what is it that they really want to do in their career. Like, don't just go with what's popular on campus. Figure out your own reasons for choosing a career, and talk to a lot of people. Like, in IITK, you have a lot of seniors who are in different work settings, right? And what is generally told to you by the company might not be the reality in that particular company. Or so talk to people, talk to seniors, take help from them, try to figure out if this is what suits you. This is my advice.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. It was very kind of you to have accepting our invitation to be here, and I think it would have been a really informative and motivative session for all present here, entire team, and all the audience. On behalf of all the audience present here, I thank you once again. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Honor to be here and share my ideas with you. Thanks.